Try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be pretty rough for him because Chris is definitely an improved fighter.
Big deal. But who is at the bigger disadvantage? Conor Benn.
But Conor Benn, I mean, this is a guy that's not fought in Britain for 3 years. I think his last fight was in April 2022.
Boxing experts are warning Conor Benn about the dangers of facing Chris Eubank Jr. Roy Jones Jr. has highlighted that Eubank is an improved fighter and could pose serious trouble for Benn, particularly if Benn's punches fail to land effectively. Jones points out that Eubank holds significant advantages, especially in size and strength, which could overwhelm Benn. Many analysts agree that Benn's decision to move up in weight to face a naturally bigger and more experienced opponent is a risky move. With Eubank's proven durability, Benn may find himself in deep trouble come fight night.
How do you see that one going?
Very tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it because one big left hook could change anything. But to me, his best chances are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be pretty rough for him because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And like even the stuff he's doing now, he's going to continue to get better. But I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter. So he's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull out the upset that one time. So I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's going to be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantage because he's bigger. But it's going to be a great fight.
You know what, a lot of people are talking about it, Roy, you know about cutting weight and whatnot. A lot of people are talking about Chris Eubank Jr. now being at 160 and maybe being tight at that weight now, but the rehydration clause, £10, I'm saying, listen, with a £10 rehydration clause in it, that won't affect him at all.
That won't affect him at all, but I don't really think Chris was big on rehydrating anyway, so I don't think he's going to get that big, you know what I mean? He might, but I don't think 10 pounds bothers him at all.
Hearn has noted that Conor Benn is at a major disadvantage in this fight because he must move up 2 weight divisions, which could significantly affect his performance. Fighters who move up in weight frequently find it difficult to adapt to the increased power, endurance, and physicality of opponents who are naturally bigger. Benn will be up against Chris Eubank Jr., who is at ease in this weight class, so it will be a difficult fight.
Kell Brook went up to fight Gennady Golovkin at middleweight. Guess what? There was a hydration clause with the IBF, and Gennady Golovkin makes it absolutely easily, as will Chris Eubank. But it's just, that's our job. And I mean, no need to moan about it. If you didn't want to do it, you didn't have to have it in there. But they know it's not a big deal. But who is at the bigger disadvantage? Conor Benn, coming up 2 divisions. And Chris Eubank just weighs in what he always weighs in. You know, that whole, they're stripping him down to 160. It's his fucking weight. I don't understand. Stop listening to Simon Jordan.
Carl Froch has expressed his opinions about Conor Benn, describing him as a fantastic young man, but pointing out that he hasn't faced elite opponents. According to Froch, Benn hasn't established himself at the greatest level and hasn't shown the boxing prowess required to win in elite matches. He added that Benn hasn't competed in the ring in 3 years, which might make it harder for him to compete against a fighter of Eubank's caliber.
I'm not sure what the genuine beef is with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. I know they've got the history, like I've mentioned, the father's name. Chris Eubank seems quite chilled and quite happy and smiley, but every time Conor Benn comes into close proximity with Chris Eubank Jr., he turns into a roadman killer, doesn't he? He's got serious beef. Every time he gets in his face, he puts it on him. Says he don't like him, he even hates him. He wants to smash his head in. I'm like, is this just selling the fight or is this genuine need? And if it is genuine need, what's it for? Is it why you got so much beef? Is it just because of the family name? Conor Benn could do with winning this because he's 28 years old, and moving forward he's got a potential bright future ahead of him. Chris Eubank Jr. wins this fight. I'm not sure what doors it opens for him or where it takes him at 35 years old, because in my opinion, at this age of your boxing career, then you've only got 2 or 3 years left, especially.
Froch went on to say that this fight isn't very exciting, pointing out that Chris Eubank Jr. only usually enters the ring once a year, and that Conor Benn hasn't done much to prove himself as a serious contender at this weight. Froch thinks that the difference in their weight classes makes this a mismatch rather than a competitive fight, so fans might not get the action they're hoping for because of the obvious difference in their natural fighting weights.
Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight does absolutely nothing for me.
Really?
Yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. lost to George Groves, he lost to Billy Joe Saunders, he doesn't box, he boxes once a year. He looked terrible in his last fight. He was slow with his jab, he was leaving his chin in the air, his balance looks like it's gone. He's 36 years old, talking about fighting Canelo Alvarez and taking on all these top, he was talking about Triple G for a while, who's now gone 40 and retired. Conor Benn, what's Conor Benn done?
Not a lot, to be fair.
He beat Chris Algieri and failed, he's failed that drugs test. We're not seeing him do anything. He's fought nobody, he's not developed. He's not developed, he's done nothing. So for Conor Benn to jump in there with Chris Eubank Jr., the only reason that fight would be close is because they're probably going to drain Eubank down to 160, a middleweight. And then, but Conor Benn's having to come up from 147. So
the gap there
it's not an exciting fight. He don't prove anything, and there's no marbles.
Eubank Jr., also known as Stability, has drawn praise from famous boxing analyst Teddy Atlas. According to Atlas, when Eubank is in the right frame of mind, he is a very focused fighter. Eubank's skill, discipline and experience could play a significant role in this fight. Atlas also suggests that if Eubank comes into the fight prepared, he will have a clear advantage over Benn, especially since he has fought at a much higher level in the past.
Fight, you can make I like parts of each guy. I like the ability of Eubanks when he's right. When his focus is there, when he's right, to be able to do things in a boxing way on the outside. And I love Benn's style and his approach. I do, where being aggressive in a responsible way, in a way a fighter should be, with paying attention to doing it with defense and responsibility of defense, and just proper way to engage somebody, but the consistent offense, looking to to engage. I think it's an interesting, and again the thing that the flowers that come with it is the interest of the fans.
H.D. Coldwell has emphasized that Chris Eubank Jr. holds multiple advantages in his upcoming fight, particularly in experience and size. Having competed at a high level for years, Eubank has faced some of the sport's top fighters, giving him an edge in handling pressure situations. His experience in tough bouts prepares him for adversity. Additionally, Eubank's size advantage is significant, as moving up in weight can be challenging for Benn. A naturally bigger opponent like Eubank can absorb punches more effectively and land heavier shots, which could prove difficult for Benn to handle during the fight.
I just think that there's size advantages with Chris. There's experience at fighting at a higher level with Chris, but there's also a lot more wear and tear on Chris. Chris is getting older. Making 160 is getting harder, but just getting older is a fact. Age catches up on us, and I thought his last fight, I did think he looked old. So there are a lot of factors to this fight. There's Conor Benn's not boxed at the level. Not that Chris is an amazing level, but he's not had the same sort of experience as what Chris has had. But also he's sharper, he's faster, and we've seen that Chris can get knocked out. So you don't know what's going to happen.
Further explained that when a fighter chooses to face a significantly bigger opponent, they must have complete confidence in their ability to win. However, he cautioned that the rehydration phase could pose problems. In boxing, rehydration clauses limit how much weight a fighter can regain after the weigh-in. If Benn struggles to regain weight after cutting, he could enter the fight at a disadvantage. This could impact his strength and stamina, particularly against a bigger opponent like Eubank. Coldwell stressed that managing weight properly is crucial for Benn to perform at his best during the fight.
From the past that were now brought into the present. So yeah, that's good, and I'm glad Chris and his dad have made up, because I know that they seem to have had the problems and stuff. So that's good to hear. as for the show and for the for the hype, that just adds to it. It's going to be nuts, obviously.
What are you saying in regards of two things here? How much of that Conor Benn having to make up that weight where Eubank is, and also the rehydration, which kind of limits Eubank for the next day? What do you think about those situations?
Well, I'm not a fan of rehydration clauses, to be fair. When it's, I get the IBF, it's world title fight, that's their rules, not a problem. £10. But when it's not a title fight, if you're picking a fight against a guy that's a lot bigger, you're believing that you can beat that man. Well, for me, I'm like, well, if you stick a rehydration clause on him, then you're saying you can only beat him if he's not able to be what he would be against somebody else's own weight normally. So you're kind of cheapening value of your win if you was to win. But I also heard, I'm sure, that Eubank said that he only puts on about £8-9 anyway. So really, if that's the case, then it doesn't really make any difference. So crack on. The question for me is, does Eubank stay strong getting to 160? Because in his last fight, it's also the first time I've looked at him and thought, you look cold. So I don't know. Ben's going to go in there swinging, guns blazing. I don't know what he walks around at. He's not really been a puncher at light middleweight when he's boxed, that sort of weight a couple of times. I don't know. It's interesting. It's one of those fights where you think that the bigger man should win and he should be able to do a job on him, but the pace and intensity that Conor Benn's going to bring as well, it could catch him. It's not like now.
Heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has expressed his excitement for this fight. Joshua believes the matchup carries a lot of intrigue. Due to the backgrounds of both fighters and the rivalry between their families, he did not pick a side, but emphasized that the fight will be interesting to watch given the personalities of both Eubank and Benter is bound to be high-intensity action. In the ring...
by the way, that was interesting. Eubank Benn, that's a fight you want to see, no?
That is a fight I want to see.
Good fight, isn't it?
For sure, it is a good fight.
Big fight as well, like stadium, packed out.
Are we saying stadium?
I think so. I think
you think it'll do well?
Yeah.
Wembley, Tottenham, Cardiff.
Tottenham,
yeah.
60,000.
That'll work out well.
Yeah, I think Wembley might just be pushing it just a little bit.
I think they can do it.
Only a few certain men can do Wembley.
Boxing's on the big stage.
Agreed.
Look at this.
Agreed.
It's amazing.
You've had a nice little break. I saw you out in Nigeria. Do you feel like re-energized, ready to go again?
You know I do.
I know you do.
You know I do.
Yeah.
But more so after my last fight, I took some time out. Mm-hmm. I let my body heal, which I'm still working on now. And I declined some business opportunities so I can focus on the sport, which takes off mental pressure, not just physical stuff. So I let my body heal physically. And then the mental aspect, I've obviously declined some things that are draining mentally. And I went away with family, which is always good. And we're back again, ready for...
That's a good fight, and it's been talked about a long time. And not only that, the fathers have fought each other. They don't get on. So if this is like... It's like generational history between the guys. So this is where the best man's gonna win. And I think both fighters, it's not like one, they both at the peak in my opinion. They both are strong. So I think the winner of that fight will cement their legacy of which family was the better fighters.
It's mad, isn't it, when you go like that and you go like, rewind 30 years and you got Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank Sr. and the dislike between them two, the family rivalry between them two, and the kids have both picked it up. Did you ever think that we'd get Conor Benn, who was obviously a welterweight, Chris Eubank Jr., who boxed as high as super middle, come down to middle? Did you ever think we'd get it?
No, I never thought that'll ever happen because, you can see the size difference. But then obviously with Conor developing and getting stronger, getting bigger, filling out a little bit more, and then obviously with Eubank coming down, he has to dehydrate himself to get down. So they met in the middle. So yeah, respect to both fighters for one going up and one coming down. But I think it's going to be an epic fight. What a fight it's going to be. But I don't know who to pick. Conor is he's a tough fighter. You can't take your eye off Conor. He's got that power. He's got the explosiveness. But then again, if he hits Eubank with the same shot, is Eubank going to go back? Is he going to step back? Is he going to go down? I don't know. I don't think so. So I think skill might win the fight. So I don't know, I might lean more towards... It's a hard one because last time I was saying Conor Benn, but I think now, thinking about the fight and now it's more realistic that it's going to happen.